video may or may not be inspired by the previous testimony. This is about my very first encounter with Jesus, when I knew He loved me and that He and God are one. I saw Him spirit to spirit, looking down from heaven at me with this massive smile. It wasn't a physical impression, it was a soul connection. And everything in my life just made sense, finally. Some of you have already heard this story, but I'm just gonna paint a little more detailed picture of the exact day that it happened. I was in school and I was desperately searching for some lost test papers. I hate this because I keep losing stuff and it drives me nuts and it drives people in my life nuts. It's an important paper, I can't afford to lose this paper, and I don't know anyone in the school yet to help me out. I've just moved from Bombay to Bangalore. I don't know whom to ask. I asked God. Up to this point, I am a Christian. I've accepted Jesus already at 5 years old. I have parents who taught me very beautifully in the scriptures. We went to church and all those things that Christians do also, I was doing. But I wasn't sure about Jesus being real. I could not deny that God is real, but I wasn't as confident about Jesus. I'd begun to hear from schoolmates that they have other ways of experiencing God, and it was making me question a lot of things. But I was so desperate right now, I just called out to God and said, I really need you to help me. There's nobody else I have right now. You're the only one who I can look to for help. Please save me. This was probably my first very urgent prayer to God, where I needed Him to answer in the next 1 hour before I left school, in my school bus. I had left my test papers in the field of the school and it's not there. So anyone could have taken it, or it could have flown anywhere, and the campus is pretty big and it's kind of futile what I'm doing. But I'm searching, I'm looking, I'm scanning for this white paper. There's nothing, there's just brown and gray. I'm saying, God, please help me. And He did, in a very unexpected way. On my channel, there's a watermark currently of a squirrel. Let me tell you about squirrels. I love squirrels. You know why? Because they're tiny, they're cute, they're shy, but they're also full of spark and spunk and life. I've spent a lot of time in Bombay trying to look for squirrels. There are very few. We happen to live in a place where there was a few trees. Wow. And I would always look from my balcony into the distance, but there was this high wall with a little bit of greenery on it, and there were 1 or 2 squirrels whom I could see their tail kind of go up and down now and then. And I would wait for that, and I was thinking how nice it would be to be closer. This was like, I don't know, 100 meters away or maybe less, but pretty far. How nice it would be to be closer and maybe even touch a squirrel. Now, when I come to this campus, one thing I loved about this new school was it had tons of squirrels. They were all over the place. And as I'm searching for the papers, there's this squirrel that comes super close right in front of me and is looking at me like this. I take the challenge. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get you. And it's like this Tom and Jerry scene where we both know I'm not gonna get him. I'm just assuming it's a him to make things easy. Please don't come at me for that. I start chasing the squirrel. Squirrel runs from me. I lose him and I go turn the corner and he's still there, like, as if he actually wants me to play. I have never seen any squirrel do this before. It's been at least a few weeks since I've been in the school. I think maybe 2 or 3 months. I've never seen any of the squirrels do this. I'm like, wow, this may actually be my new friend. And we do this for a couple of times. It'll go, I'll lose sight, I go there, and it's like looking behind at me, like, where is she? Where'd she go? Oh, you're there. Okay, let's continue. This happened for like a minute or so. I'm running like crazy with this huge grin on my face. Temporarily, the whole test paper thing is out the window. I'm like, I'll get to that later. Right now, it's squirrel. Squirrel or test paper? Obviously, squirrel. So I keep running and I'm thinking, other girls might be watching me. It was a girls' school. Other girls might be really judging me right now, but I really don't care because I might make a new friend finally in this place. There was something really special about the whole thing, even if it sounds totally insane. And just when I think that we're actually going to make friends, which sounds really pathetic right now, but I'm really thinking this might be my new friend, when it runs up a tree. The magic is over. I'm like turning to go back to my dull reality of finding these test papers. when my peripheral vision catches something white. And I'm like, no way. At the bottom of the tree. I know what it is, but my brain is taking some more time to catch up. My brain is not able to believe it, though my heart knows exactly what it is. I go closer, and it's a paper with familiar text on it. I go closer, and there's my fold at the bottom. I was so lazy that I wouldn't write my name decently like other people would do. I just folded it in such a way that I know that's mine. Like no one else does that with their paper. I pick it up, I'm looking at it, it's completely intact. I don't know how it reached there. I've left it in a totally different place at the campus. Maybe the wind blew it over, maybe the squirrel brought it, I don't know. The method doesn't matter as much to me as the maker. I'm looking at my paper and everything in my life is beginning to click. All the things my parents have told me about God and Jesus, Sunday school classes, my personal times reading the word and praying, all the little answers that I know God had given me that were not as direct before. And hundreds of Bible verses are coming to my mind like this. For God so loved the world. I'd always wondered about that line. I thought, how can God love the whole world? And if He loves the whole world, doesn't that mean that nobody's really special? Well, now I understood. God had just answered my prayer request in such a unique, special way that was specific to my personality, my likes, the kind of way I work as a human being. He knew exactly what would get me to find my paper. He even knew that I liked squirrels, which at that point I didn't know how much I liked squirrels. So I hadn't even told anybody that I like squirrels. This was a secret knowledge that God knew about me. He knew my heart of hearts. He knew exactly what I was made of, and I finally understood. He loves me. And everything else about that verse, God so loved the world that He gave His Son Jesus to die on the cross, it had a whole new personal meaning to me now. It was so real, and it was such a gasp that I actually looked up. I looked up at the sky. It's almost like I can look through the clouds and the sky and all the physical things between us, and I'm able to see the image of the invisible God that is Jesus Christ. Now, like I said earlier, I didn't see eyes and a face and a beard or anything like that. It was this presence of sweetness and warmth and compassion and so much love that my entire being was filled with Him. I didn't know I had this big God hole that in that moment was completely and utterly filled. It says that God made everything that was made through the Word, which is Jesus Christ. And so when I'm looking at God, it's Jesus and it's God, and they're one and the same. It's not two different beings, and I understand. It's the same thing. I'm not even thinking of it in such a dissected way at the moment. I just know in my heart that I'm looking at Jesus and I'm looking at God. And He's massive. Like the presence of His face, if I could call it that, is filling the entire expanse of the sky. And He's looking down at me. And it was like He was saying, "You're mine. I love you. I see you. I know you." The way He had answered this prayer request was like a secret fist bump saying like, I know exactly who you are. Nobody else may know. You also may not know, but I know. And I'm looking back and I'm like, it really is you. It's you. You're real. I believe. I love you. Thank you so much for saving me. This incident might be like a trivial thing. If you're listening to it, it's just some lost test papers, like it's not a life and death situation. But for me, not knowing who else to go to at that moment, for me it mattered a lot. And I was so touched that God in heaven, so big and so mighty, would care to bother with such a small prayer request, because He knew it mattered so much to me. And so it mattered even more to Him. Now I'm looking at Him who I know is Jesus and Him who I know is God. they're one and the same. I don't feel like there's a difference. I don't feel like they're two different figures. And I'm so overcome with emotion that my introverted self was beaming and I wanted to tell somebody. I went and listen, I didn't talk at all in my school life, especially post-primary school. I just wouldn't open my mouth. But right now I'm like running and I'm like looking for the first person, and I see a few of my busmates. I tell one or two of them, this is what happened. A squirrel came and I found my test papers and I just prayed and God answered me. And they look at me kind of like, yeah, okay, that's nice. in a little odd way, but they were not mean about it. Thank you if you're watching. For not being mean. You might be hearing this right now and you might be rejoicing with me because you've experienced something similar, or you might be looking like my busmates did, like about to dismiss it as a coincidence or craziness. But if there's anything in you that wishes it were true and you just don't know how to believe that it could be true, I encourage you to call out to God like I did. Call out to Him in the name of Jesus. It's like going to a great king or a president in the name of yourself versus going in the name of their son. It has a lot more power. There's an entrance ticket to meet this powerful person. It's like that with God. He gave us Jesus Christ as that key to Him because Jesus, His Son, was the way in which He redeemed the world. By Him, we have the right to approach God. One of my favorite verses when I was young, and I still love that verse, is Jeremiah 33 verse 3. God is saying, call out to me and I will answer you. I will tell you marvelous secrets that you know nothing about. Believe this promise and believe that God sent Jesus to die for us and He rose again and that He's paved the way to the Father who is God. Through Him our sins are washed away white as snow, and we get to have eternal communion with our own Maker. It's really all we were made for. We were made to worship Him and be loved and to love Him back, to love people as well on the earth. I've called out to God so many countless times. I've continued to call out to Him. Before this, I was just kind of doing it because I knew I could, but it wasn't really making a personal impact. After this, I would delightfully call out to Him. And I had a journey after through my adolescence, which was a little rocky, but I have solidified my relationship with Jesus where I've chosen this path of following Him all the days of my life. And it involves such amazing conversations with God the Father through Jesus, where He tells me secrets and incredible mysteries of the universe, things of life that I don't understand, things about myself, things about others, and things about life to come. So I'm telling you these things so that you can share my joy in Jesus Christ. I don't want to keep this to myself. I want you to experience this. Of course, it is completely your decision, but I wanted to testify that it is amazing. It is so good. Not only that, it's the reason I exist and live and have my being is Jesus Christ. There's a verse that says, those who have seen Jesus have seen the Father, which is God, and those who know God know Jesus. If you've had an encounter with Jesus, do share it in the comments below. Or if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm God's servant Vihan, and it has been a pleasure to share this with you. God bless you. I will see you in the new year. Bye-bye.